Hello, I'm Rachel from Douentza Garden in Ireland, and thank you for choosing to watch my video about propagating hydrangeas and Deutzia. So today we're going to propagate two types of hydrangea, and the first is the big leaf hydrangea, botanically known as Hydrangea macrophylla. We're also going to do the panicle hydrangea, Hydrangea paniculata, and the Deutzia, which is quite closely related. And the method we're going to use is softwood cuttings. Now, softwood cuttings at this time of year, it's early summer, they work really, really well, and they have been shown to have the highest success rate of all stem cuttings. We're also going to have a go at heel cuttings, which are essentially the same method but can yield even better results. Now, softwood cuttings are best taken in spring or early summer, which is exactly where we're at the moment. And well, I guess let's just get on with it. Now, softwood cuttings are best taken on a cool morning when the stems are turgid, they're full of water. So I have my plastic bags on the ready, and let's go look for that material. And here we have some very good examples of Hydrangea macrophylla, the big leafed hydrangea. Behind me here we have the lace cap variety, and over there we have the mop head, the one with the big flower heads. And I today am going to propagate the lace cap variety because my daughter is starting a garden and she really loves the look of this one. I'm looking for tender new growth. I'm looking for a soft tip, and I'm looking for no flowers on this particular stem. Cut above a node. You can identify a node because it's a swelling on the stem and it usually has leaves coming out the side of it. The reason why we cut above a node is because you don't want to leave a silly stick-like bit sticking up on your plant. We'll trim this cutting down a little bit later to get the material we need. So now we're trying a heel cutting, and this involves following the stem down to where it joins with a branch. And we cut here, taking a little bit of the wood of the branch with our cutting. It may look messy, but this method has shown to produce better results in some plants. Okay, so just putting them into the bag, and now let's go and get some panicle hydrangea cuttings. And here we have my favourite of all panicle hydrangeas. This one is called Vanille Fraise. Now, if you're taking cuttings, it doesn't matter if you take cuttings from a patented hybrid, if you're just taking a few for yourself. And in this case, that's what I'm doing. So this is the plant here, and as you can see, the stems are nice and soft, and I have plenty of choice really. I'm going to cut this shoot now. It's nice and soft, no sign of flowers yet, and it's a little bit at the back of the bush because I don't want to spoil my display for this year. And I'm going to take it down here, I guess, where the stem is a little bit harder. And now for the heel cutting, we're going to have to go down here to the wood, and there we go. That's what we're aiming for. And here is the Deutzia I want to propagate. This is a glorious one called Strawberry Fields, and it's just coming into flower now. But it has plenty of new young shoots that haven't yet put out any flowers, so this is a prime candidate for propagation. Another good stem cutting and a heel cutting. Sometimes it's easier to just tear off the heel cuttings by hand. It's easier to get a thin strip of wood on some plants than it is on others, and the Deutzia is proving a bit hard, but I think this is going to work. Okay, so now we're going to deal with the cuttings. So for my mix, I'm using 50% regular compost and 50% perlite, which is really good for just, you know, making sure things stay well drained yet hydrated at the same time. And just give that a good mix. And then when it's all ready, we're going to place it in the pots that I have. So the next step is to prepare our cutting material, which I just popped into this box while I was waiting. And the first one we are going to do is the Hydrangea, the macrophylla. So here we have 1, 2, 3 stem cuttings, and we have 2 heel cuttings over here. So I'm going to prepare this stem cutting now, and the first thing we're going to do is to cut below the lowest pair of leaves. You remember we cut above the pair of leaves when it was on the bush, and now we're cutting below with the sharp secateurs. Now you're aiming for a cutting that's 5 to 10 centimeters long, that's 2 to 4 inches. So the next thing we're going to do is to remove the soft part at the very top. And this is just going to rot off, so we're going to take it out, just pinch it out. We're now going to remove the lowest leaves. We're going to also remove these leaves, because the more leaves you have, the more transpiration, and you want your cutting to not have to deal with big leaves. You want to put its energy into growing roots. So that one is going to go in, and with the pencil just make a hole and place your cutting as low down as you can. We're going to prepare this next one by cutting below the leaves, pinching out the soft tip, removing the lower leaves, removing the second lot of leaves, and placing it in the side of the pot. And research has shown that cuttings that are placed at the edge of the pot do better than ones that are placed in the middle. Now I'm going to prepare a heel cutting, and I want to keep intact the bit that was torn off the stem, because that's the essence of a heel cutting. I'm going to remove the lower leaves like that. I'm going to take off these lower leaves as well. Pinch out the soft growing tip. There's my cutting, and I will place it here in the corner. And label it, and I'm just putting the label beside the heel cutting so I know which is which, and we can see later if the heel took better than the ordinary stem cuttings. Now in this case we have a lot of leaf, and what I'm going to do is actually reduce the leaf size by cutting the leaves in half, the remaining leaves in half. I guess they're not called big leaf hydrangeas for nothing. Next up we have my panicle hydrangea, vanille fraise, 2 stem cuttings and 1 heel cutting. Now let's have a go at the heel cutting now. As you can see, this heel cutting is quite long. This is too long for a cutting, and we want to keep this bit at the bottom. Even though this bit at the bottom is down a bit from the lowest leaves, we're going to keep it because that's the bit that has the good stuff on. So in this instance, I am going to remove the lower leaves. Remove the next set of leaves. And I'm going to take my cutting just here. And this is one cutting. Now I might actually reduce these leaves further because they do seem quite large. And there is one larger than normal cutting. The top part can be used as a stem cutting, although it may end up quite a bit smaller. So I'm going to use this as a stem cutting. I'm going to cut it just below these leaves, discarding the central bit. So this is good for nothing. Throw it away. Remove the leaves. Remove the top soft part. Take off these leaves. And here is another soft wood cutting, which I will put in here. And then the heel cutting, the bigger one, is going to go here. Label at the heel cutting so that I'll remember later which one was the heel cutting and which ones were the softwood. And next up we have my Deutzia stem cutting, and heel cutting. And we put that by the heel cutting as well. The next and very important step is to water your cuttings in well and to water them from above. None of this placing them in a tray of water. You want the cuttings to settle down into the mix. So give them a good amount of water. You need to make sure that your cuttings are kept humid. And I find the best way to do something like that is to place them in a transparent box. You can cover them with a plastic bag, but I always find with the plastic bag that the cuttings end up touching the edge of the bag, and it can be quite difficult to stop them from rotting, because if they touch the edge of the plastic, they will rot. Whereas this kind of large transparent box is just ideal. Now, your cuttings need to be kept just moist. If you've given them the right amount of water before they go into the box, then you shouldn't need to water again, because the box is a closed system. If you put a plastic bag over your pot and attach elastic around the bottom, that's also a closed system. And that means that any water that's in there will just circulate. However, you mightn't have given your plants enough water, or in the case of a plastic bag, it could be that it's not completely airtight, so water is getting out. So you do need to check them every now and again and make sure that they are staying just moist. Now, these cuttings need to be kept in a bright position, but not direct sunlight, and they need to be kept warm. So 18 to 24 degrees is ideal. If that is a heat mat that you need to place under your box in your country, then do that. Normally you would just put them in a warm spot during the summer and they'd be okay. And in a mere 2 to 4 weeks, you can expect your cuttings to strike. How do you know they have struck? And what you'll see is that either the plant is starting to grow new leaves. The ones that you've cut will not regenerate, but the plant will start to grow new leaves, or else there will be roots visible at the base of the pot, and then you know you're home clear. I hope that you have found this video useful. Taking hydrangea or Deutzia cuttings in the summer is a great way to, augment your stock, to have a few extra plants in a short period of time. And of course, because these are cuttings, the plants will be genetically identical to the parent. We will check back in, well, as soon as we have some more information about these cuttings and see how they're doing. That's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found it useful, and I hope if you haven't subscribed, you'll consider subscribing for lots more interesting videos like this. Thank you as always for watching, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.